breakfast show.
Waking you up. BBC Radio Surrey.
Should there be more planes coming in and out of Farnborough? For the last couple of weeks, people have been asked for their views on the future of the airport. There's been 6 drop-in events and also a consultation over plans to increase flights by 40%. It all comes to an end today. This is what people in the town have been telling BBC Radio Surrey.
Well, I'd be quite happy because I do a lot of driving at Farnborough Airport, so it'd mean more business.
A good thing, but, noise factor, not too good,
I wouldn't mind it, more jobs for the area. The place is a bit run down.
I'm not sure about that because they are pretty, regular. There's quite a lot go over all the time, so I don't think would like it increased, no.
Bosses at Farnborough want the annual flight limit to go up from 50,000 to 70,000 a year by 2040. They say it's to secure the airport's economic prosperity. Climate campaigners have raised concerns about the impact on pollution and noise. BBC Radio Surrey's political reporter Jack Feen has been finding out how people living near to the airport are feeling.
That's a plane flying over the village of Mitchett in Surrey, which isn't far from Farnborough. And I think what's interesting is that a lot of the reaction to the proposals to expand the number of flights is actually coming from Surrey, from Waverley and Surrey Heath and the surrounding areas. The local MPs have been commenting about the plans and flagging up the consultation so that people can take part. Here in Mitchett, this is the Surrey Heath constituency, so this is Michael Gove, the Levelling Up Secretary's area. On Facebook, he said that he understands the business case for expansion of the airport and says he recognises that would be valuable for the local economy. But he's also said that he's worried about the increase in pollution and also the loss of quality of life, peace and amenity for his constituents who live under the flight path and therefore feel that expansion of the airport would be wrong. Meanwhile, the Chancellor and South West Surrey MP Jeremy Hunt has said that he's very concerned about the impact on residents in Farnham and Ash and questioned whether Farnborough really needs to double flights over the weekend and over a longer time window. He's also expressed concern that there seems to be no compromise on the table and says he would like to know what the total proposed increase in noise is for residents. But what do people who live around the airport make of what they're proposing?
I don't oppose things just for the sake of it. And I'm all in favour of progress. If you asked me for an opinion, I'd say, yes, I'd want it to go ahead.
So you'd be quite happy for there to be more flights coming out of Farnborough Airport?
It doesn't bother me at all. Aircraft are getting quieter, very noticeably so, and I'm happy for it to go ahead.
It's not too bad. You're aware of them, particularly in the summer if you're outside.
Yeah.
Well, over the years, they get quieter, and it's not due for quite a few years yet, is it?
You get used to them. You notice sort of early evening and perhaps in the morning, but they're not there all day.
And if there were more of them, if they went from, say, 50,000 a year to 70,000 a year, what would you make of that?
I think that might be getting a bit too much then, I think.
Just over a mile away in Frimley Green, there's a similar mood.
We see them going over, but it doesn't really make too much difference to us from where we live.
And if there were more, would you be bothered, or what would you think?
Not really. No. We're just that little bit sort of far enough away, I think.
In Farnborough, not far from the airport itself, this woman I spoke to wasn't so happy about the idea.
I think it's probably inevitable that it's going to happen, and I wish it wasn't, because I don't think at weekends it's necessary to start at 7 o'clock really and go on till 10. The noise is very intermittent, I know, and at the moment it's not, doesn't bother us at all really. If you'd move to Farnborough, then there's an airport, and from that angle we're not complaining about it. After COVID, when everything closed down and there was nothing, we all thought, oh goodness, this is a good thing. But everything is just getting worse and worse now again, isn't it?
It's expected that Farnborough Airport will submit a formal application to expand the number of flights over the next few weeks. There'll be plenty of opportunities for people across the area to have their say.
Jack Fiend reporting. Simon Geere is the CEO of Farnborough Airport.
Airports are asset-intensive, investment-heavy businesses, and we need long-term visibility on growth. And when we look at the market demand for flights from Farnborough, cast that by 2040, the market demand will be around about 70,000 flights per annum. And as you've rightly pointed out in that feature, we currently have a limit of 50,000. So this is really a question of, if we want to seize that economic opportunity, and it's not just about the airport business, it's also about the region as well. And if we want to do that, then it was right that we went out and consulted with the public and sought views and feedback as to how they saw the role of Farnborough Airport going forward.
You've met with MPs like Michael Gove and Jeremy Hunt who've raised concerns about your plans. And Mr Hunt said he wanted to see a compromise. Would you look at that?
Yeah, so look, we've met with a number of MPs and councillors, and we've received a wide range of feedback. I mean, I think there are things we can do to address people's concerns. Now, we can't directly say, well, okay, let's reduce the forecast numbers down to an artificial number, because ultimately the market demand is what it is. But we are looking at a number of measures, including further noise insulation grants that we could look at, and also potentially seeing how we can give people comfort that we're not going to double flights overnight. Because to be honest, this isn't going to happen tomorrow. No, this is a long-term projection, and I think a lot of people are worried that this is just a step towards sort of an immediate sort of significant increase at the weekends or across the year.
One of the we've just asked people to get in contact. Paul's in South Croydon and has sent me this. He says, "Morning, James. I heard somewhere," and he says it may be from yourselves, I don't know if it was, but anyway, that a high proportion of flights into Farnborough are empty Learjets being flown in from their berthing airfields. Could Farnborough not offer better berthing facilities for cheaper berthing to reduce the actual number of flights? Is there any truth in that?
Well, I'm not sure what berthing facilities are, but we do have a number of flights that will come in empty. We have Gulfstream's maintenance operation based at the airport, and obviously, aircraft will come in for maintenance. And indeed, there's no denying the nature of business aviation means there are a number of positioning flights that come in to pick up passengers, to take them to where they need to go. And I think empty positioning flights is something that we could work on, in terms of how could we fill those empty legs going forward and make the whole system a bit more efficient. And that's something that we're looking at.
Simon Geere from Farnborough Airport, he's the CEO. I want to bring in Finlay Asher, who's the co-founder of Safe Landing. It's an aviation campaign group. Morning to you.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
What do you make of these plans for more flights out of Farnborough?
Well, our group is a group for aviation workers. We've got pilots. I'm an aerospace engineer. We've got air traffic controllers. We're really concerned about the growth of our industry in the UK and around the world, because we can obviously see the impacts of the climate crisis, made very real this summer, where you saw lots of tourist destinations like Hawaii, like Rhodes in Greece, Palermo Airport in Italy, but they had a wildfire raging around it, so we couldn't fly in and out. So there's a real risk, not just to humanity, not just to the planet, but for our ability to be able to travel places by air in the future. And I just kind of want to touch on a couple of things that were brought to the feature there. I mean, we were talking firstly about the environmental impact of private flights, which is undeniable. They are one of the most polluting ways to travel, one of the fastest ways you can burn fossil fuels and produce carbon emissions. But on the other side, we've heard from the CEO and from other people that are thinking, well, maybe this is good for business, maybe this is good for the economy and jobs for local people. Now, that's only true if you make a good long-term investment for something that's going to continue to generate revenue and continue to make money. But if you look at, what's been discussed in the media over the past couple of years and in politics, it's very likely that we're going to see private jets, the type of small, fast aircraft that fly out of Farnborough, being heavily regulated over the next 5-10 years. And therefore, if you expand the airport to cater for those types of aircraft, that could be a very bad investment decision. And if you make a bad investment decision, obviously that can massively impact workers when their jobs are then cut, when the business making it realises.
The expansion is number of flights, not actually particularly making the airport any bigger, though. Let's just make that clear.
Well, it's to cater to an additional 40% of flights, right? So I think there'll be substantial changes made and investment made. And what we're saying is we would rather that investment was spent transforming the airport, getting ready for the future of air travel and aircraft that cater to more efficient flying for a large number of people rather than small, very wealthy, super polluting kind of elite.
Now, it's interesting, Finlay, you're obviously working inside. Do you feel that how big a voice is the environmental voice inside the aviation industry?
Well, the difficulty you've got is our industry has a lot of greenwash. And what I mean by greenwash is, kind of false technological or policy solutions. So on the policy side, you've got carbon offsetting. If you look at the airport's plans, and it might be talking about being net zero or carbon neutral by 2030 and that sort of thing. But that's on the basis of carbon offsetting being a thing and working. And we know that fundamentally there just isn't enough space on the planet to plant enough trees to offset an increase in emissions. So we know that's flawed. And then on the technology side, there's talk about hydrogen aircraft, electric. There's mainly Farnborough is talking about so-called sustainable aviation fuels. These are mostly biofuels. Often they can be worse for the environment than simply using fossil fuels. So there's a lot of sort of misinformation but you get experience too as a worker, but also if you're a politician or a member of the public, you'll see all of this marketing out there telling you problem solved, we can double the number of flights, we can have this massive increase, and there'll be no impact to the planet. And that's simply not true. I'm an aerospace engineer. I've been working on this technology, spent a lot of time investigating these things, and it's really not that simple.
What's your vision for the future of aviation then?
Well, actually, I was invited into the Farnborough Airport Consultative Committee, which is a roundtable of the airport, councillors and community groups. And we said, we don't think more private jets are the future, but what we need to do is we need to fly probably slower, probably in smaller aircraft. You might have seen the founder of Ecotricity, Dale Vince, recently announced he was planning a new airline called EcoJet, and they were going to use smaller hydrogen aircraft. It's not going to be possible to design and develop hydrogen aircraft that are large and fly long distances for another 15, 20 years. But what we can get is smaller, shorter range aircraft carrying less people. And that is possible in the next 10 years. We need to think about overall decelerating our lifestyles, providing efficient flying for lots of people, rather than very fast, small aircraft that have just a few people on board or zero, as we just heard, and will massively increase pollution in the planet and also just the area around Farnborough.
Good talking to you, Finlay. Nice to get your perspective on everything. Co-founder of Safe Landing. It's an aviation campaign group, as you were saying, with people who actually work in the industry. 8:19 is the time. I want to give your tuppence worth. You can do so on WhatsApp, 08000 321 333. Start your message with the word radio. Sophia is here with a travel update.
Good morning. We'll